Hello, I'm Bob Weir with the Cross Timbers Gazette, and I'm doing this video about the Veterans Coalition for Denton County, and my guest today is retired Army Colonel Chris Martin, who is also president of the Denton County Veterans Coalition. Colonel Martin has also been involved in combat deployment situations overseas, and I'd like to begin by having him tell us a little bit about himself and about the experiences that he's had in the military. Colonel Martin.
Well, thank you first for doing this video with us, and we're always proud to talk about the Denton County Veterans Coalition and the great things that we're doing for our veterans here. Now, I did have the opportunity to deploy twice on combat tours. The first was to Iraq in 2004 and a little bit in 2005. It was a 13-month tour where the battalion of 400 soldiers that I commanded operated out of Northwest Baghdad. You know, it's a shame, it's a tragedy, you know, when your soldiers suffer over there, and unfortunately we did lose 5 soldiers from our battalion and had probably another 80, 90, maybe even 100 soldiers who were injured, many of whom were injured with traumatic brain injuries as a result of the IEDs, that improvised explosive devices or roadside bombs that you see there. And that's really where we first started to learn about traumatic brain injury and the effects that it has on your body and on your mind. After our deployment, though, we started to see the phenomena of post-traumatic stress. You know, some of my soldiers started to get into trouble and have issues, and we didn't understand it at the time. And now we're starting to learn more and more about post-traumatic stress and the impacts that it has on soldiers who have deployed sometimes multiple times into combat zones and have had to face, you know, and see things that really people shouldn't have to see. My second tour, I deployed, and this time I had the opportunity to command about 1,200, mostly civilians, with the Army Corps of Engineers, and that was to Afghanistan. And on that tour, we built out much of the infrastructure for the Afghan National Police and the Afghan Army. You know, here we are trying to help this country, but they don't have the resources really available to sustain what we started over there. And so we built their bases, we built their police stations, and we made improvements to the U.S. bases that were over there, because, you know, from our last agreement, we'll continue to have soldiers in Afghanistan for several more years here. So very important work, 2 different groups of people that went, but we saw the same phenomenon again of post-traumatic stress afterwards, particularly for civilians, because they haven't had the, you know, they didn't have the training and the understanding of what they would be seeing in combat situations. So 25 months total deployed. I have a son who's in the Army also. He's deployed 3 times to Afghanistan in the short 4 years that he's been in the Army. So, you know, deployments are tough. They're tough on the soldiers. They're tough on the soldiers' families, their spouses, and their children. And we still don't have a good understanding maybe of all that. And even more important, we don't have a good mechanism to help soldiers and their families deal with that.
Well, as president of the Denton County Veterans Coalition, what do you find are the issues being faced by veterans here in Denton County?
Well, right now in Denton County, we have about 45,000 plus veterans, and that's using the VA statistics. We're the 9th largest county in the state in the terms of number of veterans, and we're probably, if not the fastest, one of the fastest growing counties. You know, as the population of Denton County goes and grows rapidly, so does the veteran population. Using some of the National Institute of Health statistics, you can anticipate that probably about 30% of Vietnam vets have post-traumatic stress. Maybe 20% of those who went to Iraq have post-traumatic stress, and about 10% or more from Afghanistan have post-traumatic stress disorder. That leaves us with roughly 10,000 people in Denton County who suffer from post-traumatic stress. 10,000 veterans in Denton County suffer from post-traumatic stress. That's a pretty large number. Now, some of them have learned to deal with it over time, others have not. And, you know, post-traumatic stress is a hidden wound. You know, you can't see it outwardly quite often. You may see it in the behavior of the veteran, but if you just look at a veteran, he looks at me and you, he or she, they look like me and you. You know, of our veterans, you can anticipate that about 10% of them were female veterans, and they not only suffer from post-traumatic stress at times, but from military sexual trauma, from things that may have happened to them, unfortunately, while they're in the military. So you know, you don't see the hidden wound of post-traumatic stress, but we see it sometimes in other ways. We see it in homelessness. There are probably, for the last point in time survey, 23 homeless vets at any one time in the county. You know, you see it in the physical wounds of war. You see it in soldiers and ex-military veterans who have lost their homes, who don't have a job, who maybe need emergency financial assistance. And quite often these things are all interwoven. You know, the post-traumatic stress may be the underlying root cause of all these other things. And so we work with vets every day in the Denton County Veterans Coalition to try to help vets get through this and try to help them get back on their feet.
And can you tell me about an event that's coming up? I understand there's a local event that's going to be held here in Flower Mound, and it's for the Veterans Coalition. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Every year there are a number of Veterans Coalitions in the North Central Texas area, and every year the Veterans Coalition of North Central Texas sponsors a joint coalition meeting. And this provides us an opportunity to come together and discuss priorities, goals, and objectives, and to see how we can work together throughout the different North Central Texas areas and to represent the veterans that we serve. This year we have the honor of hosting that. We're hosting it in Le Beau Chateau. They have graciously offered us their facilities, and you know, we'll have a luncheon. We'll have a presentation from the Denton County Veterans Coalition, and then we'll allow each of the other Veterans Coalitions to discuss, you know, where they're heading and what they would like to see us work on together.
And that's Le Beau Chateau. It's right over on Corporate Drive here in Flower Mound. Yes. All right. So, what about the what will the lunch cost about?
We're anticipating taking a $7 donation as you come through the door there, and that will get you a very good Mexican fajita dinner.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank you so much, Colonel Martin, for being here, and I also want to thank you for your service to our country.
Well,
this is a real privilege for me to meet you.
Well, thank you very much, and you know, like I said, we enjoy serving the veterans of Denton County, and if you want to help, you can go to www.dentonsofveterancounty.org, and that's our website, and you can find out more about the things that we do and how you can help us out.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.